Prop- For proper cleaning of your paintbrush, you don't want to scrub it so much that you're bending or ruining the bristles. So, in general, you want the bristles to be bent back and forth, like you want to give them enough bend that they can separate, but you don't want to crush them or bend them to the point where they're creased or separated like this. So the first layer of washing, especially with acrylic paints, is to just pretend like you're cleaning the bottom of the container. There, I traded out for clean water so you could actually really see what happens. So I have gesso on here, a really thick white primer, and I've got my clear water just to show you what I'm going to do is pretend like the bottom of the container is dirty, and I'm using this brush to clean the bottom of the container. So I'm going to put this in here, bend the bristles, and just gently wipe the bottom of the container. And by doing that, just back and forth, I can swirl it around a little bit, but I'm not crushing it. So I'm just being very gentle back and forth. Now notice how much is already off of there. If I squeeze this, the water is still milky, so I do need to go in and take this to a sink and wash it with soap and water as the next step. So when you take it to the sink to wash it with soap and water, use cool water, not hot water. Do that same kind of bending technique where you're not smashing the brush, but you're bending the bristles enough to get all of the paint out. After I wash it with soap and water, I'm going to squeeze it again, and I want to make sure that the water itself is not this milkiness at all. It should just be perfectly clear water. If there's any milkiness in the water, then you are literally leaving this primer or the paint on the bristles, and it starts to coat the bristles, and over time that coating builds up and it's permanent. This is a lump of the dried gesso, and that is going to be on every single little bristle, and it builds up at the bottom, and eventually it will coat them enough to separate the bristles and the brush won't go back to its original shape. And if you're cleaning a color off of your brush instead of white, test it on something white. So this paintbrush here, it looks like when I do this, like that looks pretty clear. But if I actually test it on white paper, look at how much color I still have left in that brush. After you're done washing your brush, make sure that you just shape it. Get rid of the extra water, but don't leave it just whatever shape it comes out. Make sure you actually take the time to shape the brush into the point that it's meant to be, or the flat shape that it's meant to be, and set it down flat to dry. Never ever store your brush resting upside down, because then it will dry like that. So again, shape it, lay it flat to dry, or you could always put it in a cup or a container with the bristles up, but flat is better so the water doesn't seep back down into the handle and start to eat away at the wood over time.